right, folks, welcome to the Live at a Dollar Podcast Network. It's a special edition today of Radio's Yard as I bring one of my buddies that was always with me on Krantz's Corner back in the day, always shot me text messages, told me he listened to the radio show back in the day. Literally one of my pride moments when I got that text from him at that day. And here he is. You see him on camera if you're watching, if you're listening right now. John Anik, the voice of the UFC, joining us today. John, welcome to Radio's Yard. We appreciate it.
New territory, but it's good to hear the dulcet tones of Zach Krantz, and it's crazy what life can hold, but it's always good to chop it up with you, and never a dull moment, man, certainly in my world and in your world and most everybody else's world as well.
Yep. No, it's been great. How's everything been going for you? Before we get into any specifics, last 6 months, last 9 months, everything for you. I know you travel everywhere around the entire world with your job, one of the best jobs in the entire world, as everyone in this building thinks as well as me. What's been going on with you for the last couple months?
Professionally, it's just been crazy, right? To watch the UFC in an evolutionary way in terms of it as a live television entity, to go from Fox to ESPN to now Paramount Plus and CBS. It's been a crazy ride, and all systems go for the White House show in 2026. So it's been exciting professionally, and, still going strong with the podcast on the side, and, personally all good. As you know, it goes quickly, but just getting ready for Madison Square Garden here shortly. UFC 322, our annual sort of showcase at the Mecca. And, excited to get to the holiday season. I got a lot of Christmas spirit for a Jew. I'll tell you that.
Hey, listen, join the club. You want to know why tree went up the day after Halloween, and I had to go put it up. Right, that's what happens in my house. In my house, it's funny because it's the Jewish and the Catholic side. We call each other Jewlicks. I know you're gonna laugh at that. And so the Christmas tree went up. We're already getting ready for Hanukkah, Passover, Easter, the whole deal. That's how it is in my. We celebrate. You know how I like to do it? We celebrate everything, because why not? Why not celebrate the world and life and everything? All right, so I want to start with the White House thing. First off, Hadami and Kobe, my producer here, how are we going to get by your side as your interns that day? Because you are going to have one of the best seats in the house for one of the greatest events possibly we've ever seen in sports. I'm so jealous of this.
So the best thing to happen to me over the last 2 years has probably been to watch my twin brother's broadcasting career, but he also serves as my business manager. And so he's with me at most of these live events if his schedule allows. And Zach, he doesn't know if his credential is going to be active on the White House lawn. So as far as getting you guys in the building, it's sort of a non-starter. I mean, I haven't even addressed this with my eldest daughter, who will be at Madison Square Garden with me, thankfully. But
awesome.
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. I really do believe it's not hyperbolic to say this is, maybe right there, if not superseding a Super Bowl ticket in terms of what the appetite will be to get on that White House lawn, whenever this live event goes down.
I'm going to be honest with you and tell you this. I've covered Super Bowls. I've covered World Series. I've covered NBA Finals, NCAA Final Fours, you name it. I've covered it. This would be one of those events that I'd put in the top 2 or 3 no matter what. And I honestly think at this point, because the normal person could go out there and buy a Super Bowl ticket for 10, 12, 15,000. They could go out there and scalp for a very big price, a Masters ticket. This is going to be something different. I feel like Dana and Donald Trump, and the way that this is going to be put together, you're going to have the exclusive of the exclusive, real close to the ring. And then if there are going to be seating or areas to sit outside of that, that's one thing. John, I'm so jealous you're going to have one of the best seats in the house, one of the greatest events maybe we ever put on in U.S. history. I can't wait for this. I'm jealous of you, John.
And I think the Masters is a pretty good comp, but it's not really even a comp, because presumably everybody who attends this show is going to have to give their social security number and be screened, right? So you're going to know acutely who is going to be there. And I can even tell you, as somebody who is on the floor, who has been there for 45 and 47, President Trump coming into the broadcast booth multiple times. Like, you can be sure, for my twin brother and everybody else, they're checking our backgrounds.
Right. I can only imagine at that point. Right. Like, this could be great. I think it's awesome. I know what we're going to be expecting. We're expecting to see the best of the best, the biggest of the baddest, the whole deal that night. I know that John Jones' name gets thrown out there. Connor's name gets thrown out there. All these guys want to fight on this card or might want to fight on this card. How big is this card going to be? I'm not saying give me the card and give me the fights and the special this and that. But could we see possibly, even though they've kind of said no to it, John and Connor maybe sneak in there? Is it possible we see them there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to think about what your goals are for the UFC with this White House show. And in a lot of respects, it's President Trump and Dana White, pulling out their Johnsons and just saying, look at what we can do, that you can't, right? In terms of doing the biggest rating in television history for mixed martial arts, I don't know if Kimbo Slice on CBS has that distinction or if it's a UFC show on ABC. I'm the play-by-play guy. I really don't lean into that rating stuff. But what is the goal in putting John Jones and Conor McGregor both on CBS? If the goal is to do the biggest rating of all time, you have Conor McGregor on the show and, you negotiate a rate that, both sides can be competitive with. But I don't know, man. I mean, when you look at UFC 300, UFC 299, as you well know, that preceded it in Miami was a comp. Like some people thought UFC 299 was almost as good. So I guess the only thing I would tell you is that the card will be smaller and it'll probably put UFC 300 to shame. I think strategically it's going to have a profound impact on the matchmaking over the first and second quarters of 2026 as they try to save stars and manicure it a little bit, but it's exciting to see what they can do. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see, minimalistically 3 title fights.
Yeah, that's going to be, that's going to be so much fun. We've been talking about it in the building since they even came and announced that it might possibly happen. Forget about that. It's going to happen. And it's just one of those things. If you are a UFC fan, this is the ultimate one coming up. And listen, I don't want to take away from, like you said, Madison Square Garden coming up, or like you said before 299 was awesome. It was such a great experience in Miami also. And thank you, Dana and the UFC for finally, and the fans down here in Miami for finally coming together so we can have these once a year or whatnot, because the fans are unbelievable. The crowd was nuts those couple nights you've been down here. I love to see it here once a year, maybe more than that. I would imagine the UFC wants to spread out more, and this Miami thing could be a yearly thing, if not more than that.
Miami checks so many boxes right now. Salt Lake City, Utah. And again, I have no inside information, but I can tell you Salt Lake City, Utah paid a handsome price to have pay-per-views there in 2022, 2023, and 2024. They got some amazing moments, right? They weren't necessarily looking for fight nights. They wanted pay-per-views. Miami is a place that I don't have to tell you people want to come to. I remember for a while we were thinking, when LeBron James played for the Heat, how do we get him octagon side? And it's like, well, you almost got to have Anderson Silva go. The way the sport is now, it almost doesn't matter who you trot out in Miami. It's just going to be a huge deal. So hopefully the city is willing to continue to get behind it. I mean, certainly when you talk about Kaseya Center, the gate records are going to be the UFC's. That's just the way it works. It's not like a humble brag by the promotion. It's just kind of the way it works in combat sports. So, hopefully we could be back there and I can go back down and see my mother.
Yeah, that'd be very nice. What are you missing food wise down here in South Florida that you don't have up there?
See, I get asked that a lot, but I think what is interesting is that I found in West Boca Raton that just like the pizza joints and the sub shops that became my own, I never found a great Chinese place, so that's important. What I'm on the hunt for up here,
Okay. Very important.
Yeah, there was a Chinese place in Meisner Park that had been around for a while in Boca Raton that closed shortly after I came down, Uncle Tao's or something like that. But
you got to find that.
Actually, I can get amazing pizza. I'm in the pizza capital of the world, but there's still joints in Boca Raton that I miss,
Yeah, of course. When you leave a place and you've been down here for a long time, of course you're going to miss some of these actual places. All right, let's talk a little. Let me get into some UFC house with you at this point. One of the guys upstairs told me to ask about the lightweight division. Is Paddy next up for Ilya? Is he the next guy up, you think, at this point? Is there someone else that we need to be talking about, or is Paddy the next up, you think?
So I just don't like when people sort of denigrate Paddy Pimblett's candidacy as far as whether or not he should fight for the title on merit. He has never lost in the UFC. He's fought exceedingly better competition as he's been methodically built. And I think if you look at a fight against Ilia Topuria, he's certainly as competitive in that setting as Justin Gaethje, if not more so, in terms of all the skills that he brings to the table. And even though maybe I have a closer personal relationship with Justin, Gaethje's 1-1 in his last 2 and has had myriad opportunities to fight for the undisputed title. So straight meritocracy, the UFC can't always be. The other name is Arman Sarugiani has a fight coming up in November this month in Qatar against Dan Hooker, because when his name was called for the shot against Islam Makhachev as the champion at UFC 311 earlier in 2025, couldn't make the walk for whatever reason. So 2-man race, Gaethje Pimblett. I don't know. I mean, Islam Makhachev is fighting Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight championship. Is it out of the realm of possibility that Islam wins that fight and then says, I'm going back down to 55 to fight Ilya? No, I think it's a realistic possibility. And maybe Ilya would rather fight Makhachev than Paddy Pimblett. But to suggest that there isn't risk in fighting Paddy Pimblett, I think is short-sighted.
Yeah, I would assume that. And he's a showman too. We like to see Patty. We like to see the clips of him. And if you're doing the viral moments and you're actually winning fights, that's when you actually will be one of these superstars, one of these guys we're talking about. I told you about my new gig here at the Backyard. I need to ask you this because I think this is going to be something. UFC cards, by the way, are humongous. You know all about this. I think we talked last time when they started to come back out. They put out some unbelievable product lately at this point. Can you give me off the top of your head 3 UFC fighters that made their debut possibly in the last year that people should be investing in my side with the cards? 3 kind of young guys right now that a John Anik would be investing in right now. Doesn't matter the weight class division. I don't care how old or young they are.
Yep.
But 3 guys right now you say this is who you should be investing in.
All right, so Ateba Gautier, a middleweight out of Cameroon, is a young fighter, has made his UFC debut within the last year. I would invest in Ateba Gautier. I think he tracks to be a future UFC middleweight champion. I would point to 2 champions as well. Khamzat Chimaev just became the undisputed UFC middleweight champion. He's a force unlike anything I've ever seen prior. And then Merab Dvalishvili, our bantamweight champion. I know he's not a newcomer, right? And I'll give you another new name in a second. But Merab is tracking to go down, Zach, as the greatest mixed martial arts fighter of all time.
Crazy.
To supersede John Jones, George St. Pierre, and perhaps anybody else that you want to throw into that conversation. So I don't know if you'd want to own Merab Dvalishvili cards. I certainly would. And then in terms of other young fighters, gosh, there's so many on this roster of 700 plus.
Right.
Let's just give you
throw a dart at the wall. Someone is now buying into one of my breaks. They're looking for one guy, and you're saying go after this guy.
I don't want to give you too big a name. That's the issue. So I'll give you one more name before the end of the interview. But let's take
that's fine. Hold it off for now, and that's plenty fine at this point. How about this? This was something else we were talking about upstairs as well. What's the next kind of older guy to make a comeback, do you think? The guy that there's gas left in the tank that maybe people are kind of throwing to the side a little bit. Is there another guy you could think of right now that could be going for that next big run? Older guy, possibly veteran in the UFC at this point?
You know, not a guy that isn't in the UFC now. I mean, there have been rumblings at times that Robbie Lawler, UFC Hall of Famer, was getting back into the testing pool. You know, the one thing I would say is that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I mean, there's no doubt that everybody's going to be trying to take him down and, you know, exploit maybe that part of his game. But Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the karate practitioner, well north of 41 at this point, is still a real problem. And I'm just super impressed with his athleticism, his toughness, his willing to take on all comers. One of the greatest strengths of schedule in UFC welterweight history. So I marvel at what he's doing at an advanced age. But it's a young man's game in a lot of respects. And even though we do see, you know, every now and again, a case like Michael Bisping where a guy rises late in his career, you know, I think Ateba Gautier is a guy that a lot of people should Google later today. And, you know, I think you'll come away quite impressed.
Yeah, that's good. I like that because now when we're in these rooms upstairs here at the Backyard, we're talking about this. We're all talking about the hobby, talking about the next guy to invest in, the next guy that's going to be big. And I always bring up, because of course I'm the oldest guy in the building, like where's the older guy that's going to make the comeback here? What's the next guy to come back after this and really show his stuff? I think that's a good answer at this point. I brought this up to a bunch of the young guys here. We're talking about just having good jobs, dream jobs, this and that. I know I've asked you this before. We talked about this before. You ever pinch yourself? You sit in one of the greatest seats in all of sports. You get to do it all the time. You're neck and neck with some of the greatest athletes in the world at all times. You're talking with them. You ever kind of sit back, pinch yourself and go, I can't believe I'm still doing this? Because I remember we had conversations about when you started and you were doing the 30-minute show or whatever it was on ESPN. Like, we've had these conversations, but I love when you give this answer, because I want the younger people watching this, even the older people that are watching this, to understand that John didn't like wake up overnight and get this seat. He worked his ass off to get there. But now that you're there and sitting on that seat, does that pinch ever happen for you?
It's crazy to think about a decade in the business and then now 15 years with the UFC on top of that. And it's like you look up and you've been doing it for 25 years. And oftentimes you're the oldest guy in the room, and it sort of freaks you out a little bit if you feel young and you dress like you're 12, as I do. But I'm trying to lean more into that and lean more into gratitude. You know, as I've said to you, our broadcasts are 8 hours, and oftentimes I don't even have the chance to take a piss. So joy and fun are not front of mind when I'm calling these live events, if I'm being totally forthright with you. But I'm trying to lean more into that. Our Hall of Fame matchmaker, Joe Silva, would always say to me, it's like, bro, you have the job that you work so hard to get, you know, don't be afraid to have fun. And, you know, I certainly was leaning on him at a time where maybe I was a little tenser and tighter and younger in my broadcasting career. So yes, it's easier for me to laugh at my producer Lappy dropping a Boston accent in my ear nonstop during the show than maybe it has been in years prior. And I think it was good to step out of my comfort zone and call Canelo versus Crawford in September. I hadn't worked boxing in a long time. And, you know, that was a challenge, which I think is good for a sort of reset and a wake up call to see if, you know, you can sort of step into something else. Yeah, still got it a little bit. You know what I mean? And certainly when I have the holidays with the UFC, when we've been with ESPN, we get this break around the holidays because of football or whatever it is. And even if you have 4 or 5 weeks off, you know, you're hoping that you still got it. But it's a tremendous exhale after these live events, and I hope to experience it, you know, for another 15 years. Actually, no, that'd be too many. You know, I don't want to be this guy who's doing this beyond 60 years of age and getting in the way of the young guys. So, yeah, I would be absolutely stunned. You know, God willing, I'm alive, but if I'm doing this past 60, I just don't see that happening. But if I could hang on for another 13 years, that would be amazing.
I think the right title at that point is senior consultant in the department somewhere where you're just kind of there, still getting nice paychecks and helping out the young guys. I think that'd be a good fit for you at that. When you're ready, not tomorrow, better not be tomorrow. When you're ready at that point, that would be good. We'd be very happy with that as UFC fans and as your buddy in general there. I'd like to see you there as long as you kind of want to be at that point. How's your brother doing, by the way? I love the fact. I love the fact that you and your brother, me and you talk about this all the time too. I've got a great relationship with my brother where, you know, he lives with me now. I moved him in the house while he's transitioning to a new place. I love it. But you and your brother have an awesome relationship. How's that going? How's he doing?
Yeah, no, great. My identical twin is off and running. You know, he works for Dirty Boxing amongst other mixed martial arts promotions and does a last men standing podcast around the Circus Survivor NFL pool in Vegas. And yeah, a lot of irons in the fire, but I think most exciting, Gable Steveson, Olympic gold medalist who tracks to be a super relevant UFC heavyweight, just made his Dirty Boxing debut. And my brother was the guy, you know, in the ring afterwards, sticking a mic in his face. So, you know, that's footage that'll probably populate on a UFC telecast someday. So for me, that's the dream, right? To be able to, you know, play some sort of role in your relative sort of doing that. So yeah, it's been hugely rewarding to see him absolutely kill it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really cool. I love the relationship you have with your brother. I love the pods you guys do it together, all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to let you go here in a second, but I had to bring this up because I know that you're a huge Patriots guy.
Yeah.
Drake May. I'm the Dolphins guy in the room. I'm just going to sit in the corner and listen to you talk for a minute. Drake May looks like the guy. You guys might have done it again. John, can I just catch a break here for like a 1 or 2 year span? What the hell's going on here?
Well, health is wealth, right? Health is wealth in some part, but it's really more than Drake May, right? I mean, you see his connection with Will Campbell already, and you can just see that Drake May is a good human being, and I think is going to be a leader that people are responsive towards because he is a good leader. It's just amazing that they were able to get Mike Vrabel. You know, I thought Rob Kraft was sort of like falling apart at the fucking seams and no different for his son, Jonathan, right? And if they didn't get Mike Vrabel, they were in real trouble. But Josh McDaniels has essentially pitched a no-hitter calling plays for Drake May. He got Mac Jones to the Pro Bowl. He called all Tom Brady's plays. So we need to give a modicum of credit to Josh McDaniels, who has put Drake May in such a position to succeed. But I mean, anyone who watched Drake May's high school basketball highlights knows that he's an absolute monster, and it's very exciting. And again, thankfully Kraft was able to get Vrabel to sign on the dotted line, because if that hadn't happened, they would have been screwed in my mind.
Did it again. I thought that maybe there'd be a 3 or 4 year gap. Maybe that some other teams had a chance. No, New England right back at this point. Drake May in the MVP conversation. Oh God, of course. And me, I'm the Dolphin fan in the room. Hi, how are you? I'm in the Dolphin fan in the room, right?
Well,
That's
it is
right
crazy. The division's crazy when you think about the
Crazy.
Dolphins and the Jets, and they're just putridness and futility. And then the Buffalo Bills. I've lost a lot of money on the Buffalo Bills the last few years, not breaking through. I've just had them to win the AFC the last 3 years, and they can't even get to the damn Super Bowl, never mind win it. So yeah, it's exciting for certainly my mom, who holds her Patriots beanbag as if it matters every game.
Good for her. I like that about the fans up there. That's good stuff too. All right, John, I'm going to let you go. I am going to bug you again soon. Listen, I love talking
get out
to you.
Here, Alvin, where are you at?
Right. Alvin's upstairs. I don't know where he should have been down here for this. The guy would have been shaking talking to you at this point. He would have been so happy. But listen, we will do it again soon. I wish you the best of luck on everything. I love seeing you when I get to watch the pay-per-views. I love seeing you doing the podcast stuff together. I love it at all. I'm a big John Anik fan. I wear the $2.99 shirt in the building all the time. I love it all. That's good stuff too. But in all honesty, I love the fact that we're buddies. I love the fact that I could call you. I love the fact that we can have some conversations, family and business at the same time. It's always good stuff there. And I love the fact that you are here now, finally, on Radio's Yard. It makes me very happy.
Thank you for having me, buddy. We'll absolutely do it again. And probably in 2026, hopefully everybody has a great holiday season. And get the Christmas decorations out early, I
have to.
We're not going to criticize anybody for Christmas music in mid-November, at least you and me right here. So.
Right. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. John, be good. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks as always. Another great time here in Radio's Yard. But in all honesty, thanks for being my buddy. Thanks for answering the phone call, too. That's always nice, too. You never know what's going to end up happening with people, but you do it every time, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll talk to you again soon. The great John Anik here on a special edition of Radio's Yard on the Live at $1 Podcast Network.